So we want this room to be quite open and not have too much furniture, but it also makes it quite echoey in here. And we did install a few sound panels, but we also knew we wanted to do our own paintings. So we figured they could double as sound panels too. We started with sketching out the design. We wanted something minimalist, not only because of the look, but also to not make the sound panels less effective. Because the more surface you cover in paint also means the more sound will bounce back instead of going through and getting absorbed. So we tried a few different ideas, but we ended up with this one. We thought it was clean and simple. The first white brush stroke is heavily inspired by Kik King, an amazing artist, by the way. You should definitely check her out if you're into art. And then we were pretty much done and ready to build the frames. We'll be using, I think it's 22 millimeters by 45. So we'll start by cutting these into appropriate size. Just copy this one. There we go. Okay, so we're all done with the pieces. Let's put this to 45 degrees. Lock that in place. Bada bing, bada boom. Nice and locked in. Two more to go.
Aren't they supposed to be like this? I mean, for the isolation to fit.
Oh, oh no, no, no. Yeah, you're right. This angle is supposed to be that way, not this way.
And the reason for that is, which Sandra also pointed out here, we bought these boards based on the thickness of the sound insulation that we got, which is 45 millimeters thick. And since these boards are 22 times 45, the insulation will fill up the frame perfectly. If we cut the boards correctly, that is.
We'll just glue them back and then pretend that didn't happen. So, to have the isolation fit, we'll have to saw them this way.
Once we're done with all the cuts, we used two different methods to assemble these, just to see which way worked the best, and we didn't have enough clamps to do them all at once anyways. And for some reason I thought doing these 45-degree cuts would make assembly easier, which turned out to be quite the opposite. I would suggest you just screw them together like this, maybe use some glue if you want. Unless you're gonna have the frames visible, then you might want to do the 45-degree cut.
Clamp that down, make sure they're nice and squared up.
So, repeating the steps 2 more times and another frame done. Now for the canvas, we chose this beige Furnishing fabric. It had the look that we wanted and it was thick enough so that you can't see the frame or insulation behind it. I then start by putting a staple in the middle of each side, making sure the fabric's nice and stretched. Then I work my way out to the sides, leaving some space to work on the corners before I go all the way out. So there's different techniques to do the corners, depending on the look that we want, I guess. I like to start pulling up the corners towards the frame and then just cut off the excess fabric. And then I'll do the fold on the top and the bottom just to keep the sides clean. That looks pretty good. Time for the last one. And now that we're used to this process, we can speed things up a bit. Oh, there we go. All done. Let's put in the sound insulation. So we'll see you in the basement. So this is actually sound insulation for interior walls, but they'll work great for this and they're way cheaper too. We also managed to find the ones that have the same width. So you only have to do 1 cut and 2 sheets will be enough for all 3 frames. Make sure you don't push them down too hard. You want to keep it nice and fluffy, you don't want to make any creases. And to cover the back, we'll be using this thin landscape fabric. Not only is it cheap, but it's also supposed to be perfect for the back of sound panels. I'll leave a link in the description to see the video where I got that tip. And that's it. time to add some paint.
So for these paintings we're going to use acrylic paint. First I just going to roughly sketch out the design, because when I start with the acrylics there is no turning back and we don't want to make another frame. I'm satisfied.
Yeah, looks good.
On to the next one. Oh my god.
What?
I almost dropped the pencil here.
Good job.
Thank you. Let's see.
One more to go.
I think it looks good. Maybe we make this as a smiley. No. Obviously, there's a lot of ways you can do sound panels, but hopefully this gave you some inspiration.